Oh boy. All right, here we go. My name is Jim Wendler. Welcome to Friday with Wendler. I am the author and creator of 531 and hope everyone had a good week. As always, if anyone is watching or anyone can hear me, hopefully you can see me, please drop a thumbs up in the chat or anything like that, and let me know that this thing's actually working so we can get started. We are now 8-0 at the London High School with the football team. Last week was our big rivalry. It was bananas. It was a home game. The team that's our big rival is very close, just down the street, in rural Ohio version of down the street. And it was absolutely packed there. It was loud. It was nuts. We ended up winning 38-0. So good times for us. It was 21-0 in the first quarter. So, but they did cross the 50-yard line. So that's the first time a team's crossed the 50-yard line in, 3 games or something like that. Anyway, all right. So we're going to get started as we usually do with 2 CDs, albums, whatever you want to say, or bands. So the first one is from 1994, and this one features a fairly large or well-known musician. This is one of his side bands, and they've only put out one album. The band is called Nail Bomb, and the album's called Point Blank. All right, so this features Max Cavalera. Everyone knows him, obviously, from Sepultura and whatever his other band's called. I can't think of it. Whatever. So Max Cavalera and the great Alex Newport. If you guys, I think Alex Newport is a totally underrated musician. He was in a band in the 90s called Fudge Tunnel. Heavier than hell, kind of industrial tinges to it, I guess you could say, but awesome album. Awesome band, incredibly heavy. Does not get its due. So this came out in 94. I purchased this in the city of Chicago. I was actually going to go meet and get my Far Beyond Driven signed by Pantera, and I just happened to wander into a different record store while I was kind of hanging out. I heard this playing over the PA system, and I asked, who the hell is this? And I had never heard of it. Obviously, it was 1994, I guess. Anyway, this would be, I guess you would call this a metal thrash stuff, with a industrial style tinge to it. It's got some programmed drums, and then Igor, Max's brother, plays on a couple songs, but I think it's front to back really good. I don't think it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's great. Like, if you're going to train, Nail Bomb's a good album to put on. It sounds like they had a common vision, and they went into the studio and probably, I don't know the whole story, but it sounds like 30 hours or something, and just nailed everything perfect, got everything taken care of. And I absolutely love this album. Interesting, my first job in the fitness industry, I worked with a guy who was from Brazil, and he obviously spoke Portuguese, and there's a song on here that the song title's in Portuguese, and I asked him what it meant, and he looked at me like I was a total asshole. The song is called Vai Tomar no Cu, which is basically, I guess, go fuck yourself or something like that. So, and he just looked at me like I was nuts, and he started laughing. He's like, don't say that again. I was like, all right. Number 2, this is not going to be, this one, I can see this appealing to just about everyone. Obviously, what Max does, everyone kind of likes. So, especially with, it's much more accessible than his next album. All right, so this one is a split album, but we're going to concentrate on one of the bands. It is the Black Army Jacket Hemlock split. Hemlock is a black metal band. I'm not going to talk about them, but it featured the great Dan Lilker, and everyone who's into heavy metal knows who Dan Lilker is. At least you should be. But we're going to concentrate on Black Army Jacket. I absolutely love this. I've listened to this a million times, their side of the split. Black Army Jacket is you would call it a power violence band. Power violence is like a mix of grindcore, punk, hardcore, usually very short songs, very fast, sometimes very slow. I think Black Army Jacket, the way they stand out is, one, they have a top-notch drummer. Dave Witt is their drummer. You guys know Dave Witt possibly from Discordant Access and Human Remains and Burnt by the Sun. But they're short, fast, sometimes sludgy songs. Terrific songwriting. I think it's the lyrics are creative. They use a variety of vocal styles, not just the typical power violence style of vocal. And I don't know. I absolutely love this album. And there's some really off, not power violence style riffs and songs on here that I think are totally fun. And I think that not just obviously Dave Wood is amazing as a drummer, but I think their songwriting, like even though they're not playing super technical stuff, I think it's just very creative. And I absolutely love this album. Again, the band is Black Army Jacket. I think you could probably find this streaming, or I don't know if you could find the physical copies, but I don't know if anyone does except for me. Anyway, all right, here we go. Let's get started here. Oh my God. As always, if you have a question, ask in the chat, and I will do my best to answer it as truthfully. Usually I lie on 3 of them. You guys have to figure out which ones I lie at. Woo-wee. All right, here we go. Albert Wang says, hey, Jim, training the Beyond 531, I alternate the main lift and main lift variations. Okay. On week 1, I bench press, and week 2, I pause bench. Both are done as a main lift. Am I doing it correctly? Listen, if you want to do it, Albert, like that, I personally wouldn't. I would use pause bench for my FSL work. Or, when you start, if you're not going to do FSL work, I would do it maybe working up. But if you want to do it like that, go ahead and do it. Just, if that works for you. But again, I personally wouldn't do it. I would choose a very different variation and just use, again, pause bench for the FSL work or for when you're working up. So, all right. Good morning, boss man. Suggestions for workout on my upcoming cruise. Still working to lose the pounds and keep strength. Well, I'll be honest with you. If my goal was to lose weight and get stronger or keep my strength, the last thing I would do would be go on a cruise. I've never been on one. I have no desire to be on one. That's why I've never been on one. But I can imagine the food and the lounging around will definitely work towards you to lose pounds and keep strength. So I don't know what you have access to on the cruise. Personally, like occasionally, I guess it depends on where I am and what I want to do. But if I go on on vacation or something, I just try to be on vacation. Doesn't mean I don't do a few things here and there. I remember when I was staying in a very tall building. I don't know, it's probably 30 some odd floors or something like that. When I was in Destin, Florida one time, and because I drove there, I brought my weight vest, and I just walked up and down the stairs. I think I did 1,000 stories or something in a week. That was the goal. So if I were you, if they have a gym, just hit some machines, get a pump, and then just try to get a walking goal every day, X amount of steps. That's what I probably would do if I were you. So again, just get an upper body pump, whatever they have access to, lats, some shoulder work, whatever, and maybe some push-ups, and then just try to walk as much as you can. So, I assume the cruise ship is massive, right? I guess you go on the treadmill, but I would probably walk around the ship and check out the weirdos. Rico Santana says, good morning. How's it going today? Today is a good day. It is cold in my house today. We slept with all the windows open, hence the hat and I'm wearing my new long sleeve Texas Tech Red Raiders hoodie. I'm not a giant Texas Tech fan, but my son Mason and I, whenever we get together, we usually play a season of college football on the Xbox, and last time we played a couple months ago. I was in town or I was in whatever. I was with him a couple days, and we played an entire season, and we played with Texas Tech. That was the team that we actually flipped a coin between that and another team. Anyway, both our DNs had something like a total of 100 sacks, and both had 63 tackles for loss too. So this is why I got Mason one too. So remembrance of the good days. All right, here we go. Here's a second question from BK. How to bring up shoulder size and strength? Thanks from South Texas. Well, the way that I always did it was obviously I would press, and I would do a lot of full range pushing movements. I didn't do a lot of side laterals and rear laterals, which I'm assume you probably have, or I did a lot of rear laterals, I should say, and face pulls, but I didn't do a lot of that other stuff. So I never really had a jonesing to bring up shoulder size. So I don't know all the specifics on that, but with the strength, it was primarily pressing, overhead, a lot of volume on that. There was usually once a week, and then I'd always do some kind of, on the second bench day or upper body day, bench day, right? I would do some kind of full range dumbbell, push up, dips, something like that. So the other thing is, this is, I've never done this, but because I don't diet very well. The smaller you make your waist, the wider your shoulders, right? So that's another thing you could do, is just bring down your waist size as much as possible and make your shoulders look big. And I know that's what I think Christopher Reeve, one of his things, for Superman was obviously he did all the shoulder work, but he also tried to slim up his waist a little bit. So that's what I would probably recommend. Listen, like you can, whatever body you have, like you're not gonna, if you're 5'6", 250 pounds, you're not gonna look like Brad Pitt, So just my advice to everyone is whatever body you have, whatever genetics you have, just make it work and be the best version of you that you can be. Don't get all weird about that stuff. Like, I gotta get my calves big. Listen, if you got skinny calves, doesn't mean you can't do some calf raises and all that other stuff, but you have what you have. Just be the best version of yourself that you can be. Don't worry about it. Big Easy says, good morning, boss. Good morning, Big Easy. If my goal is to get jacked, but don't entirely want to neglect athleticism, do you think it would be a good idea to oscillate back and forth between the bodybuilding template and boring but big? No, I think that's the last thing I would probably do. There's no way with that volume of leg work that you're going to be able to do all the stuff outside of the weight room, or at least do it to a high degree. I wouldn't do it. So you can do that stuff for your upper body, but I would not recommend that for your lower body. Just way too much work. And then obviously you're doing other stuff Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, like, right, if you're lifting Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're doing stuff on the off days. I assume you're doing some kind of sport, or you're running, all that other stuff. I would not recommend that. We keep our lower body volume very low in the weight room, primarily because we're doing stuff outside, and that's what I assume you mean. So what that means to you, I don't know. Your training background and stuff like that, but you can't be so sore and tired from, let's say, Monday you squat, for example, that you can't do a bunch of shit on Tuesday. It's just, that's not how athletes work. You have to, and there's always a sacrifice to be made, right? That's just how life is and training is. So, and you may have to sacrifice some weight room time for stuff that you do on the off days. And that's kind of the way it goes. Now, obviously there's some times that you can go a little nuts and just bear with it, but a long-term plan like you're showing here, I would not do. What are your thoughts on using the RDL as a main lift in place of the conventional deads? For some people, I think it might be okay. I would not do, personally, I would keep the reps higher. So instead of doing, for example, on your 3x5 week, I would probably do sets of 10, or sets of 12 or something like that, or all, figure out some kind of rep range. But I would not be trying to do super heavy RDLs. The reason doesn't mean you can't do it if your body, if you can handle it. But when you're doing the RDL, when it gets a little too heavy, you start to round your back, your upper back fails and stuff like that. So it generally lends itself to a very sub-max lightweight. And I don't know if it lends itself to like doing PR sets and stuff like that. So can you? I mean, I'm sure people have, and I'm sure people have done RDLs for max singles and all that other stuff. But the majority of people, I don't see that as a good thing. If anything, you can use your RDL as your supplemental lift. So it keep the reps fairly high and the weight fairly low. That's what I would probably recommend. And I have many times for people that are doing boring but big, or some FSL work, or whatever supplemental work you want to do after you deadlift. RDL is a great variation that you can put in there. Oops, man, I always lose my place. John says, hey, Jim. currently fasting, bro. I just didn't eat breakfast. See, John says, I sometimes have to do my accessories later in the day after my main and supplemental work. That's done in the morning. I train at work. I train at and work from home. Okay, I'm sorry. Is this okay? 100%, man. I think that's a great idea. The only thing I would say is just be mindful on both of the training sessions that they're not super long, especially the the morning one. I think that's when you do your main lift. You want to keep things nice and easy and compact. And I don't know what that would mean for you, but I would probably, if I was training you, I would try to keep that training session, both of them, between 25 and 30 minutes at the most. There's no way you can't get all that stuff done. Because I know when I work with people personally, we get our main lift and our assistance done in 30 minutes. So there's no way you can't do both. Now, of course, we are working at a quick pace. We are pushing things a little bit. That doesn't mean that's what you need to do, but I would probably put a time cap on there. So you're not just burning the candle and you end up doing like 2 90-minute workouts or something like that in a day. I don't think that doesn't lend itself to long-term success, John. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. Mr. Nantucket. I don't think I've ever been to Nantucket. All right, here we go. No, I haven't. Of course I haven't. I think I've been to every state except for 2. Louisiana, believe it or not. I don't know. I've been all over the South, but I've never gone through Louisiana, and I've never been to Alaska. So, all right, here we go. Been dealing with knee pain specifically at the bottom of my squat. I'm planning on taking some time off from squatting and doing box squats for a while. I know it's a broad question, but any tips for a knee recovery or rehab? I really don't. I hate to. Rehab is such a weird thing because, as an example, I am going through all this shit with my back for God knows how long, and some things work for a little bit and then things don't work at all, and so it's going to be very individual. But my advice to you with rehab is always try to front load the rehab. And what that basically means is once you find something that works and you start to feel good, you're probably better off extending that time instead of, like, I'll give you an example. After 4 weeks, you feel pretty good. I would take another 2 to 4 weeks and keep on doing that and make sure everything's healthy so that you do not re-injure it again. The other thing, when we had kids come from knee injuries, this is when I was working at Kentucky, we would box squat them. And I would not box squat them. The box height didn't have to be parallel. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions when doing this. We box squatted them to a box that allows them to squat perfectly. And that for them, because of their knee injuries, we made sure they were able to sit back and open up a little bit. The other thing is, put on some knee sleeves and, just for general knee pain. And I don't know what your knee issues are, is the IT band was a huge issue. So even just a little foam rolling on there helps quite a bit. Now that's very like remedial knee stuff. So, and the other thing, Nantucket, is you need to strengthen the area. As someone who's been doing rehab, one of the things that, we're always told mobility, flexibility, all this other stuff, but you still need to strengthen the area. So once you kind of feel good, make sure you're doing things to strengthen the legs other than squatting, because that squatting is what may aggravate it. So that means maybe single leg stuff. Sleds, I think, are awesome. Prowlers and sleds, awesome for just about everyone. Fuck, I can push and pull a sled and a prowler, which is pretty amazing. So I think stuff like that, anything to strengthen your leg in an alternate way other than squatting, I think will be your path to awesomeness. And what that is, I do not know, because maybe lunges kill your legs, but step-ups are good. I don't know, but just find ulterior exercises and movements to strengthen your legs, and then make sure you're getting some hamstrings and calf work in too. And it doesn't need to be like a million sets, right? 1 or 2 sets once or twice a week can go a long way. Thank you, Jeremiah and Reese and Tyler and the pro. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Ryan Steck says, happy Friday. Thank you, Ryan. Man, we got an away game this. I don't know if this is just from all of our away games are like 40 minutes away, and it's like you got to travel down these massive country roads, which is not bad when you're going there, but coming home, it is so dark outside, and oh my God, is it bananas? You can't see anything. All right, here he goes. Ryan, I'm trying something different for an 18-week cycle following the standard 5-3-1, a 4-day split, but adding a twist. I am doing all working sets for squats with a light band and bench with a mini band and deadlift with a light band. Okay, I am taking an 80% training max like usual, but subtracting what the difference would be with the added band tension. Okay. I understand what you're doing. Going to run it in a 6-week wave and deload every 7th, supplemental and accessory standard. I just finished. Okay. That's a good idea, Ryan. Yeah, you're going to have to play around with just so you understand. And I think you do, right? Just make sure the training max is going to be, because it starts to get weird with bands. And the other thing, and this is the one thing I hated about using mini bands for max effort work, was the bands start to stretch, and so it's not the same lift. I remember we did reverse bands one time, and I don't know what I worked up to, but let's just say it was 400 pounds. And I don't know, maybe 6 weeks later we did the same thing, and I couldn't even lift like 365. And we like looked at the bands, and they had been stretched out so much that, of course, and of course, we understand max effort work isn't about just doing PRs. It's about the strain, but it kind of stinks when, you hit 400 easy on one week and then the next week 365 sucks. So that's my only kind of tough thing with the bands. So, but good luck, man. Good luck. You are good to go. I think you thought, Ryan, you thought this through very well. Let's just put it that way. All right, here we go. I missed one here. Ollie88 says, hey, Jim, what do you think about Nirvana, the band? I hope, not just the... yeah, I think they're good. I don't think... What's crazy is, in this day and age, I don't think people understand what a massive band Nirvana was and how quickly they just changed the landscape of music. One of the best things about Nirvana, at least in my thought, was... whatever their second album, In Utero, was so jangly and abrasive when they could have just gone, again, super commercial. And I think that was pretty funny to me. And I'm not a big Foo Fighters fan, obviously, but what's his name? Dave? Oh my God, what's that guy's name? Oh my God, I can't believe I can't figure out his name. The drummer. It doesn't matter. Dave Grohl. There we go. Dave Grohl, I think, is a absolutely monster drummer. Love him. If you guys haven't seen Dave Grohl drum live for Queens of the Stone Age, there is a video of them. Oh my God. I wish I could, I don't know. But anyway, he's drumming live at a big festival with Queens of the Stone Age, and just watch him drum. It's unbelievable. So, yeah. I mean, you can't deny how massive Nirvana was. It was crazy. And I never listened to the radio or anything like that. Not that I was too cool for the radio. It just didn't play the songs. And even I heard Nirvana. Like, that's how, like, it was just everywhere. So, here we go. Josh Hayes says, I recently pinched a nerve in my neck and have been out for roughly 3 weeks. Have you had this issue before? And how did you move forward with lifting? Also, how did you prevent it from happening again? Well, I know I've done a bunch of stuff to my neck and my shoulders. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I have, like where you can't really move. But that was more from football. And I don't know how to prevent it, because mine was just from being, an idiot with my playing football. So I don't know. He says, how did I move forward with lifting? I don't remember specifically, Josh. I do know that I always trained, so I always did what I could. And if that meant, I was doing tricep push downs and calf raises or whatever I could, or leg extension, leg curls if I couldn't squat because of the pinched nerve, I just always did something. And so that's my best advice. But I don't have any really, I don't have anything specific, and I apologize, Josh. It's really not my area of expertise, that's for sure. But I'm sure there's a million things out there on the internet, and I know that you're on the internet now asking, but I don't have the answer to that, and I feel like I kind of sold you out, buddy. But it'd be derelict of me to say what to do. So, but yeah, like even my neck now, I can't. What is it? I can't turn to my left very well anymore. Even I go to a chiropractor, and they're always fascinated by my lack of neck mobility. So. And I think it's bigger, Josh, than just doing like some neck work. It's the nerves and stuff. It gets so tricky in there. So you may try some nerve flossing for the neck and see how that works itself out. But the other thing, Josh, I hate to say this, sometimes shit happens. And I don't know if there's really a great way of preventing it from happening again if you continue to push yourself and push your body. That's just kind of the price you pay sometimes. So just understand, I look at some of this stuff as a rite of passage, and I know it's probably stupid of me to do that, but it keeps me sane. So Tyler says, happy Friday. Cannibal Corpse was a fun show this week. Yep, but Full of Hell was probably my favorite band on the bill. Yeah, Full of Hell is bananas. A lot of discordance chords on there. I love that. Drummer, from what I saw, absolutely plays his ass off. I saw him blasting one time, and he came off of his chair. I mean, he was just going at it. And I don't know. I don't think they probably don't use triggers either. So, good on him. So, yeah, that's awesome. I'm still a Chris Barnes sympathizer. God, what was the album? The first album with Corpse Grinder. They re-recorded that, right? I can't remember what it was called. But you can find the Chris Barnes album online, and I think it's awesome. They never released it. They re-recorded everything with George, but anyway. Rico says, have you ever trained a boxer or had anyone run a program of yours that is or was a boxer? No. But the same principles apply, Rico, right? All we're doing for athletes or anyone, a first responder job is to raise their general physical preparedness. So the same issues, the same things apply. I'm not, how do I put this? Let's just put it this way. If something, like let's just say, for example, whatever reason, deadlifts affect your skill work. I'm just taking deadlifts as an example. Then we just cut it out and use something else. So you have to make sure that whatever you're doing in the weight room isn't affecting your skill work as far as movements and volume and stuff like that. But the same principles apply. We're trying to get stronger. We're trying to put on a little muscle size. We're trying to just physically develop the body amongst a bunch of other, agility, conditioning, speed, all that other stuff. So it all comes into play. I don't think anyone needs a very specific boxing program other than, again, if something is affecting your skill work on the days that you do skill work. So I don't, the problem, Rico, is I haven't, but I wouldn't train them any differently other than making that change. That's it. So just please understand that. JP says, hey, I found from an MRI I have a bulged disc and degenerative discs. Everyone has degenerative discs, so don't worry about that. Haven't done any squat, bench, deadlift, or press since my right arm is numb and pain in upper back. Where do I go from here? Well, you got to find somehow to rehab. I don't know. Again, I have to deal with this issue, and I haven't dealt with it very well. The one thing I would probably look into as a starting point is you can find this on YouTube. I don't know, I think his name is Brandon, but his YouTube channel is called Low Back Ability. Again, I'll say it again. Low Back Ability. He does a great job of doing both strength work and some mobility work and attacking the problem. And it is a long-term solution. So if you're looking for something short-term, this is not for you. It's going to take you probably a year or 2 years to go through everything and to go through all the progressions. But I'm telling you, it does work very well. So that's where I would probably start if I were you. And then just be patient, right? Be patient, train what is trainable. If I were you, I would get my hands on some kind of prowler or a sled and use that for a lot of your training. And I would start farting around with different machines and different movements and see what you can do. Because trust me, whatever you're going through, many have gone through and have survived and come out the other side. You can't give up hope. And you can still train like an animal, still train like an idiot. You just have to choose different routes. So if that means you can't do certain things, that's just the way it goes. You either get all depressed and stay stuck in your own little world where you have to do this, this, and this, and if you can't, you're not going to do anything. Or you can take a different road and say, fuck it, I'm going to go ahead and be awesome at X, Y, and Z, even though they're not A, B, and C, and just move forward, all right? And that's pretty much all you have. You can either stay stuck and get all down or take a different road and figure it out. I highly recommend the different road. You're going to become a better person for that, obviously, right? So where do you go from there? You take the different road, and don't be beholden to squat, bench, deadlift, or anything else. Doesn't matter. Find something else to push your body physically, and you'll be better off for it. But again, I recommend the low back ability. I do not know the guy. I've never talked to him. I get no money from that or anything like that, so that's what I would probably recommend. All right, Jeremiah says, hey, boss, I'm a 20-year... Are you 20 years old? Beat up pro wrestler, average 60 to 80 matches a year. With 80%, does Fives Pro with boring but big, supplemental with dumbbells for joints and body weight assistance seems sustainable to manage this level of fatigue and punishment. I don't know what you mean by boring but big sup with dumbbells for joints. I don't know what that means. I don't know if you've been wrestling for 20 years or you're 20 years old. I mean, that makes a big, big difference. This is Jeremiah. If I were you, I mean, that's a lot of work every year. I would highly recommend doing the training for busy and inconsistent min template. 1,000%. I would not recommend anything with boring but big for what you're doing. No way, no how. But again, it's you can find it on the blog. Just type in Jim Wendler training for busy, inconsistent men, and it will give you options every single day that you train. So when you're feeling beat up or you don't have access to something, or you can train a certain way, or if you have a little bit of time off, you can train a little harder. So I would highly recommend that. So, but good luck. Yeah, and just keep the training max at 80%. That's fine. Don't worry about that right now. It seems like you got that solid. But do not do boring but big. That would be horrible. Rats. Can you do a different leader and anchor cycle? For example, do a Leviathan leader and God is a beast anchor? 1,000%, yes. Just make sure that they kind of match up and they make some sense. But yes, 100%. Do you think it's worth ascending effort in hill sprints or just do a warm-up and then go balls out for every sprint? Do you think it's worth ascending effort in hill sprints? Yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah. The answer, Ryan, is yes. You don't have to do it. And listen, maybe some days you could just warm up and just go balls out. But I, generally speaking, did the ascending, I guess you call it ascending effort. So, yes. In fact, it depends on your hill too. But with the hill that I train, I'd always walk up and down once or twice, and I didn't count that as part of my total, but that way you can kind of warm up the calves and Achilles and stuff like that. And I have found that to work very well. And then obviously when I start each one, it's a little slower and then you build up a little bit, especially in the beginning, just like you're saying. So yes, I think it's great. I think it's terrific. Ryan, the most important thing is you're running hill sprints. That's the most important thing. Even if you're half-assing hill sprints, they still work very well, believe it or not. It's like pushing the prowler for a mile. Even if you half-ass it, you're still pushing the prowler for a mile. Brandon says, in your humble opinion, are shrugs with a dumbbell or barbell the best for upper trap development? Trying to build that nice shelf for squatting. Do I think? No. But, I mean, some people swear by them, so, like, listen. But in my humble opinion, no. I think if I was going to do two things, I'd do hang cleans. And if you don't do hang cleans or don't want to do hang cleans, there is a upright row, God, what is it called? High pull that I did. So you're doing like a hang clean and you're just pulling high and you're just kind of repeating it. So you don't have to go very heavy, but it's elbows high and you're using hip drive and stuff like that, or hip pop, whatever you want to say. To me, that worked way, way better. Way better. But that doesn't mean you can't do shrugs either. All right. I still think they're, an awesome exercise. The other thing that I really like to do was I guess you could do it with a barbell. We did it with a trap bar, and their trap bar rows, they're like a half-ass upright row. Obviously, you can't pull it very high. That absolutely smokes my traps too. And you don't have to, you can go heavy, you can go light, you can use a little hip hop and stuff like that, so you can mix it up. So those three things I think work way better than the shrug. Here we go. Matt Spencer. He says, hey Jim, Matt here. I was wondering if I could substitute bench with dips and do some type of board press or pin press. I know you recommend chins between sets on upper days. Should I also be doing this on lower days in between sets? All right, so let's attack the first question first. Substitute bench with dips and do some type of board press and pin press. So if I were you, the answer is kind of. I would substitute the board press and the pin press for the bench and use dips as an assistance exercise. Okay, so that's number one. He says, I know you recommend chin-ups between sets on upper days. Should I also be doing this on lower days in between sets? You can. I did that for years. I make some of the kids do that. You can do push-ups and dips between lower body work too. So yes, you can if you want. You don't have to though, unless the chin-ups and pull-ups and stuff like that are a huge priority for you, and you feel like you get something out of them. I always like to do the pull-ups in between my squat sets because it felt like it made my back feel a little bit better. Opened up the shoulders a little bit. So, and I'm standing around anyway, right? So, but generally speaking, you can, yes. Yes. Zooman says, thoughts on Amon Amarth. I do not like them very much. But I don't even own anything by them. But, yeah, I can see their appeal. I know people love them, but I never really got into them. But again, there's so many bands out there. I mean, shit. You got Black Army Jacket, What am I supposed to do? So, yeah. Not my thing, but that doesn't mean they're not good and all that other stuff. So, I don't like to criticize bands or anything like that. I mean, I used to kind of be a dick. I just don't care. Oh my God, one of the worst. I always think, man, imagine if you had your current brain inside of your head when you were like a teenager. How many things you'd be like, man, this doesn't matter. You'd be so dangerous. I'm not doing this. I don't need to know any of this. Dude, I remember we learned DOS programming in high school. I mean, how pointless was that? Oh my God. All right, here we go. Suspense is killing me. He says, hey boss, we have a sport coach who doesn't want to use percents to keep simplicity since many kids are new lifters. How would you design a year-round program? Hold on. With major lifts without percents? Well, what I would do is I would just have groups very similar to how we do our trap bar groups. So you would just have for example, I don't know. Yeah, you just have set weights for each group and then you just move up. And so for example, let's say you're a 200-pound, you're in the 200-pound group. I'm just making this up. And you use a 3-week wave, just like 5 through 1. And let's say your first set is on week 1 is 150, and then 165, and then 180, right? So you don't use percents, you just have groups and you just plug in the weights for them. And as soon as they graduate from the group, they can move up. So what that graduate means, I don't know, but maybe they need to get a set of 10 at the top set of each one, and then you can move up to the 215 group or 205 group, and then again have set weights for those. So you're not technically using percents, right? You're just using set weights for 3 sets. I don't know if I'm making sense, but that's how we do our trap bar stuff. We don't have 3 sets for the trap bar. We just have 1, and we have groups. The reason why we did this is because we trap bar. Obviously, we lift in giant. We have 60 kids, usually 50 kids at one time. I can't allow them to do 3, like there's 4 guys on one trap bar. That's a lot of changing weights, and kids get really confused. So each kid has 1 weight for each week, and we just pound the shit out of that one set. And we never use 5s and 2.5s past a certain point because it's too hard to find. So one of the groups might be, a lot of kids are in, I can't remember what weight this is, but their 3 weights are 225, 245, and 265. And then the next group is 245, 265, and 275. So we use the big plates and stuff like that, and yet they have to quote unquote graduate before they move up to a group. So that's what I would do. That's what I've been doing. We do that so we don't have to, again, we don't have to find the 5s and 2.5s and make a ton of changes on the trap bar. With the bench and squat, it's the same as usual. So, all right, Jeremiah, you said you're wrestling for 20 years. You're 38, so that's, okay, so he was the wrestler. He's been wrestling. Okay, my supplemental work is dumbbell incline, dumbbell press, and goblet squats. I still do deadlifts, but do 50, okay. Yeah, you could do that, Jeremiah, if you want. You could do exactly what you're doing with the training for busy and inconsistent man. So I would highly check that out. You can still occasionally do what you're doing here, but it needs to give your body some grace with how you're feeling. That's what I would do. Brandon says, where would you program jumps in your workouts? Max effort day or dynamic day or conditioning day, all to itself? We usually do it before each time we train. So we don't really have a max effort day or dynamic effort day, but I think it's jumps and throws and stuff like that work for max effort day or dynamic effort day. So you could do it on all 3 of those or all 2 of those days. I wouldn't do a conditioning day. I'd do it on my conditioning day. I would do it prior to my lifting because I think it really does help your lifting quite a bit. So there you go. All right, KB. I apologize, man. I got like a little, hopefully I'm not getting sick here. KB says, love the music recommendations and training philosophy. I appreciate that. Listen, I know 90% of people don't like any of this music, but I think some of these bands need to get some love. So, currently running 5s pro leader PR sets plus joke for anchor. Okay, 3 days a week and loving it. Thoughts on bands Bulzer and Innumerable Forms? So I've seen Bulzer live, believe it or not, and I think, listen, I totally get I play in a band with 2 guys, but I would never play as a 2-man group. I think live, I think it's missing something. I really do. Fuck, I think most bands should have 2 guitarists, I'll be completely honest. But I'm not, I don't know. I never heard this other band though, Innumerable Forms, so I don't know about them, but I don't know. I don't think I own any Bulzer CDs. I'm almost positive I don't. So listen, I respect it, but just not really my thing. I don't know why. I don't know. Like, there's so much shit out there. Like, they have to be good songwriters. Like, and I don't mean they have to be super simplistic, but like I have to, like, songs need to be memorable to me. You know, like, and I think, for example, De Mysterious Dom Satanas, I think they wrote great songs. I mean, terrific songs. And Moving Pictures from Rush, I think that, you know, Tom Sawyer's a great written song. It's very complex and technical, but it doesn't have to like lose the song format. That's my big stink. And I think a lot of times when I personally write songs, and I know I'm not like a songwriter or anything like that. when Joey and I do, I'm giving you an example. When Joey and I write something, we do all this stuff, and then we think, what the hell don't we need in this song? Because I think there's a lot of waste in songs that just kind of do it and they want to show off or do this, but does it serve the song? And I think that's something a lot of bands could do a way better job on. I listen to the great Metallica songs and the great Slayer songs. If you listen to them, there's no fluff to them. It doesn't mean they can't be long songs, but there's just kind of no real fluff in them. And then even if there is, like I think Disposable Heroes is a terrific song, you could probably still cut out some of that and still retain the awesomeness of that song. So I heard a Slayer song from one of their last albums, and I couldn't believe how awesome it was. And then there was like an additional 2 minutes that they didn't need. I'm like, man, just play the good stuff. You don't need to play all the other junk. It's just wasting time, I think. So I don't know. That's just me. All right, just Jeremiah. I appreciate you, Jeremiah. Thank you. Take that dude, Jeremiah. The other thing is you're 38 years old. You've been training a long time. Your body's probably beat to shit. You're going to have to make some good decisions and better decisions. And you have to stop, Jeremiah, because I know exactly what you're thinking right now. Not now, but training. Is you have to serve your body and your sport. You can't just train because this is what you used to do. Serve your body and the sport and the goal. And when you do that, oh my God, just do things get better. So Justin Malone says we've been doing walrus training in bunker gear at the fire station in bunker gear for the past 2 months. Heavy rows in place of pull-ups. We're an older crew. Hold on, I'm moving. Older crew of 40 years old and over, and improved a lot. That's awesome, man. That's great to hear. I got a message from a fire crew who used, I climb a lot of steps with, rucks on and body weight, and I do a ton of that shit. And a fire crew sent me a picture of them in front of all these stairs, and they did it with all their gear on, and it was really cool. The best part was it was in the same city that my parents live in, so I feel if my parents ever got in a fire, at least those dudes would be in great shape kicking ass. So that's awesome, man. And listen, if you're working in such a capacity, like a police officer, a firefighter, where you're out and doing shit, just make sure you take care of your body, because not only is it for you, it's for everyone else too. Don't be the weak man in the group. And one of the things I learned that when I was at the University of Arizona, I was clearly one of the worst athletes and worst football players that played, clearly. And my big fear was letting my teammates down because I was lacking something, or I wasn't doing things correctly. And so while I knew I wasn't going to score the 80-yard touchdown, I knew I could sacrifice my body. I knew where the play was going to be, right? I mean, simple stuff like that, how to read the defense. And I felt I had to do my job, and, I did whatever I had to do my job and not let the team down. And I think more people should take that approach to everything, I'll be honest. So yes, it did serve me selfishly, but it also helped others. KB says, I work up to my top set, and then for my 5 sets of 5 FSL work, I superset with assistance, usually pulling. Would recommend 5 sets of 5 RDLs, superset with 5 sets of 10 press after deadlifts, or vice versa. I would probably recommend that after deadlifts. There you go. Doesn't mean you can't do it the other way, but yeah, that's what I would recommend. Ooh-wee. Yes, so do it after deadlift day. And you can still do assistance work, supplemental work with the press after press day, but not a problem. Not a problem. There's no more questions here. That's crazy. We usually do it to 11:30, 11:15 sometimes. All right, we'll wait around for a little bit. We can discuss... let's see if I have any other albums laying around here. Oh, we'll do a third album. This is from my good buddy Joey Waters. Scour. This is, I believe their album is called Gold. Boy, is that a lot of... There we go. So, those of you that don't know, Scour features the vocal stylings of one Philip H. Anselmo, who you guys would know from, is the singer of Pantera. Down, he's done a whole bunch of other groups too. Obviously, Superjoint Ritual, which I love Superjoint. But he's also done a bunch of other stuff. Well, Scour is, I guess you could say it's probably his second or third attempt at black metal. He had obviously Viking Crown and then Ibon. Ibon has 2 songs released, by the way. I only thought there was one. I still have that first one on the Moonfog compilation, Mere Soul Jesus, but they actually released another album. But anyways, this is Scour. This to me is absolutely awesome. Scour is, again, I would say black metal with death metal leanings. Phil's vocals are unbelievable. The songwriting is so crisp. The riffs and everything is so like in your face, but nothing stupid, I guess, or like wanky. It's just drive the song. We're gonna punch you in the mouth over and over again. Absolutely love this. This is their first, I believe, full length that they released. They have a bunch of EPs. Absolutely awesome though. So I'm gonna feature this at another time. But that's for you, Joey Waters. Again, that's Scour. The band is Scour. It's called Gold. It features Phil Anselmo on vocals. Highly, highly recommended. This is definitely training music if you've ever wanted training music. So, all right. All right, no other questions. Let's roll out of here, boys and girls. I hope everyone has a great weekend. I appreciate everyone that helped out, and I hope everyone has a safe, awesome weekend. If you do something awesome conditioning-wise or some kind of challenge, please be safe, but please push yourself physically and mentally so you feel like crap. But listen, you'll be a better man for it. So I appreciate everyone. Thank you to everyone who asked questions and participated. Appreciate it. Love you.